Today I want to introduce you guys to a brand new gimbal. This is the FeiyuTech Scorp Mini, and as its name implies, it is the smaller version of the bigger, more expensive FeiyuTech Scorp Pro gimbal. Now the biggest selling point about this gimbal is its size and its payload. It's able to support up to 1.2 kilograms or 2.6 pounds. And as you can see, it's handling my Sony a7 IV and my 55mm f1.8 lens just fine. So it's able to support bigger mirrorless cameras, smaller point-and-shoot cameras, smartphones, and action cameras. So in that regard, the Scorp Mini is pretty similar to the other two types of gimbals that I've talked a lot about on this channel, such as the Inky Falcon Plus, which is our go-to gimbal for using with our GoPro, Hero 9 and Hero 10, along with the Media Mod, as well as the Zhiyun Crane M2S, which is the latest all-in-one gimbal that can also do the same thing of being able to support smaller mirrorless cameras, point-and-shoots, action cameras, and smartphones. That's something, though, that the Inky Falcon cannot do. So if you're using the Inky Falcon, you're only going to be using this with your action camera. So we're going to throw this guy out for now because it can't really compare to these other two gimbals here. If you're on the market for an all-in-one gimbal, then to me, these are your two big contenders right now. The Zhiyun Crane M2S and the FeiyuTech Scorp Mini. There is also the Zhiyun Crane M3, but that one is a little bit bigger and more expensive. So if you want a bigger, more expensive gimbal, then you can go ahead and look at the M3. But for now, these two are the most comparable. Now the biggest difference between the Scorp Mini and the Zhiyun Crane M2S is going to be that design. You can see that the Crane M2S is a more traditional gimbal with a single handle here as well as a optional tripod. So if you're going to be using this gimbal, then there's really only one, maybe two different ways to hold it. And after a while, it's not very ergonomic. So in that sense, I really love the approach that the Scorp Mini is taking because you not only have a smaller handle down below and an optional tripod to extend this handle, but you also have an entirely different handle that comes out here, which gives you more ergonomic control for using it with two hands, or you can even use it with just one hand. So besides that, the main differences between these two gimbals are pretty minor. The payload for the Crane M2S is just 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds compared to 1.2 kilograms or 2.6 pounds on the Scorp Mini. Also, both gimbals have built-in rechargeable batteries, and the battery for the Crane M2S is only for 10 hours compared to 13 hours on the Scorp Mini, so it's quite a bit longer. And the final big difference is the price. And really, the price is only different for a little while because currently the Scorp Mini is only available via Kickstarter. So if you sign up via the Kickstarter, the first 100 units are going to be sold for $199 US, and after that, the full price is going to be $299 US. And so the Crane M2S only has one price, which is a little over $300. So the full price of both of these gimbals is going to be pretty comparable. And with that, let's put away this Zhiyun gimbal, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the pros and the cons of the Scorp Mini. So as I mentioned earlier, I do think that one of the biggest pros of the Scorp Mini is its unique design. I love having the extra handle here because, yeah, you don't always want to use just one hand to hold your gimbal. I really like having this secondary handle up here, and it just makes for using the gimbal for a lot longer throughout the day. Another really big pro is right here on the end of this extra handle, and that is this 1.3-inch touchscreen LCD. It has the menu on it, and it's really easy to navigate. You just swipe through it with your finger and touch on something whenever you want to activate it. The Scorp Mini also has a joystick for controlling the orientation of the camera, and there's also a knob up front that can be used in a similar function as the joystick, or you can also program this to do something else, such as zoom in and out of your frame with compatible cameras. And so this is actually worth talking about. I don't have the full list of cameras that this gimbal is compatible with. It can obviously hold and balance a bunch of different cameras of all kinds of sizes, but in terms of connecting the camera and actually being able to use some of the buttons here, such as the record function, I don't have the full list of compatible cameras, but based on my experience, it does work with my Sony a7 IV and my Sony 55mm f1.8 lens. And so to connect the camera, all you have to do is use the supplied cable to plug into the little multi-port on the side of the camera, and then plug in the other end to the front of this gimbal here, the USB-C port. And this way, I can use the back panel button to start and stop recording on my Sony camera. Something else I can also do is use this front wheel here to zoom in and out of my image just slightly. And yes, I can even do that with a prime lens, such as this 55mm. And so I do that by using the clear image zoom feature on my Sony camera. This is a custom setting that you can enable on most Sony cameras, definitely the a7 IV, as well as my a7 III. And so that's really specific to the camera. I'm not going to go into depth about how to do that in this video, but if you guys do want to hear about how to do that, then leave me a comment below and I'll make a dedicated video showing you how to set up that function on your Sony camera. One big bummer is that even though you can balance an action camera such as the GoPro Hero 9 and 10 on this Scorp Mini gimbal, you unfortunately cannot use the buttons on the gimbal to control the camera. I asked FeiyuTech directly and they told me that there is no support for doing that on the GoPro. But one thing that is cool is that in the little packet of accessories, it actually does give you this little GoPro to 1/4-inch tripod adapter, which is what you need if you want to attach your GoPro to something like a 1/4-inch tripod mount that you find on pretty much every other mount out there that isn't for GoPros. Another big pro about this gimbal is related to that touchscreen LCD, and that's the fact that you can do motion time lapses using the LCD on the gimbal. I know in some other gimbals you have to connect the gimbal to the phone app in order to do motion time lapses, but I just love that you can do that without connecting your phone. But you can of course connect your phone to this gimbal if you'd like to, but honestly, I've been able to do pretty much all of the functions that I've needed to just by using that LCD on the gimbal. This gimbal is also super easy to balance. You do that by tightening these little mechanisms here, and I like that the mechanisms are super simple. You just twist them in one direction to unlock them and twist in the other direction to lock. And I like that a lot more than those other switches that you typically have on other gimbals. It's just a lot smoother to use, and the design builds in rather seamlessly. And now for a couple of downsides. The main one is that this gimbal doesn't come with any kind of carrying case or bag, and so it's really difficult to transport. I mean, you can lock each axis, and it gets to be really strong and stable, so you can put it in a camera bag, but you have to have that camera bag. Most other gimbals out there are coming with bags or cases these days, and so it's kind of a bummer that this one doesn't come with one. And the lack of a bag is especially a bummer because this gimbal comes with a bunch of different accessories, such as these cables for connecting your camera to the gimbal and little keys like this, and there's just no easy way to keep them all together and to transport them. And this is actually the last con, in my opinion, and that is the fact that to connect your camera to this gimbal, it comes with this little tripod mount. But the tripod mount isn't like a thumb screw. You can't use your fingers to tighten it, and it's not a standard size Allen key. It's actually a slightly smaller, non-standard size, and so you have to carry this with you anytime you want to attach the mount to your camera. So besides those two downsides, I do think this is a really cool and different take on a gimbal. I love how ergonomic and comfortable it is to use for long periods of time, and the fact that I can use my full-frame Sony camera with small prime lenses, and my smartphone, and even my action camera on a single gimbal. So it's a really cool one to consider. Again, if you want to get your hands on this at a discounted price, then use that Kickstarter link down below to make a pre-order. Otherwise, be on the lookout for it because it will be out on the market very soon. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.